to use the term manifestation in a wider sense, one could say that you manifest the way in which you experience what you might call reality or your life. You could call it your life, you could call it reality. How do you experience it? And to what extent are you dependent upon external conditions as far as your state of consciousness is concerned? How much freedom do you have? Can you live peacefully in a world that is, to a large extent, not peaceful? And if that is possible, how do you do that? How do you not get drawn into the conflict and anger, egoic dysfunction of the world, egoic, both individually egoic and collectively egoic? Let's start by looking at, to some extent, it might be helpful as a starting point to differentiate between what would conventionally be called your life. This is whatever in your daily experience of people that you interact with, whatever you do in this world, work situation, family situations, meeting people here and there, going from here to all your private sphere. There's that. So you meet all kinds of people, some familiar people, some people that you meet briefly, have interactions with in then you have in this technologically advanced society, you have another, well, not everybody, but most people have another level of interaction with other people that also becomes part of what they call my life. And that is interaction through technology. You interact through social media with more people than you actually know. This is the case with many people these days. They interact with more people than they actually know in their normal everyday existence. You interact with all kinds of people that you've never met. Not everybody, but most these days, because people use Facebook and they use Twitter and they use all kinds of things. They're sending messages and so on. And on social media, you also interact with people in a different way that you haven't. So look at then the third level. So we have actual personal contact with people, whatever the nature of these interactions is. It could be, is it conflict ridden? Is it conflict ridden in your, or is there some conflict, but also a certain amount of harmony in your daily life? Then you look at the other level of social interactions through the media, through social media. What kind of interactions do you have there with people that you might never have met but nevertheless you are in contact with them, you exchange. What is the quality of that kind of interaction that you have? How much conflict is there? How much negativity is there? And how much is there that is a manifestation of consciousness? So you have to look at that. So many people there are people, as you sure you know, there are many, especially younger people, but others too. There are many people in this world for whom the human interactions that they have through technology are much more important than the actual interactions they have with human beings. They interact through social media with countless people, and the virtual world becomes to them more important than their actual surroundings. It's an amazing thing. I don't believe that is a very helpful thing, but that's how it is. It's a huge challenge. So you have that level. Then you have another level where you come in contact with the world through what we might call mainstream media. You get the news and you get commentaries. And mostly these days, the news and commentaries are mixed up. They come in one. You can't just get the news anymore. Then you already have the news already embedded in a commentary. And you get there's also that third level becomes also for many people almost more important than their daily existence with the people that they actually know and interact with. Sometimes, of course, those levels can meet. For example, you hear in the news about people going into stores and not wearing their masks, and then there's a lot of upheaval about that, and people get worked up about this and very angry, and you can see little clips of people shouting at each other because somebody's not wearing a mask, and then the other person is shouting something back. And to some extent, there can be that level and the personal level can meet, because 10 minutes later you go into the store and you might witness something similar. Your experience of reality or your world consists of these levels. So you have to look at these. I think I can try to perceive those three levels. First of all, it's important not to lose touch with the fact that level one, where you have actual human interactions with people in your daily life, which is relationships that you have, people you work with, people you meet casually, but actual human interactions, that really is the main part, or should be the main part of your life, should be that the actual living experience. And so what I'm recommending is that you see if you can separate those levels and look at the primordial level of your actual experience with human beings, leaving aside for a moment social media and leaving aside watching the news every day and all the other things connected with the news, whatever. Leave that aside for a moment. It's important to see the difference. So when you talk about negativity and destructiveness and all anger and antagonism and conflict everywhere, first of all, look at your life, your actual life. Does that apply there? Or to what extent does that apply there? Because that's an important part of your reality, is the reality that you create, that you manifest in your personal life. That is primary, I would say. Is that sometimes, of course, the reality that you see in mainstream, the media, when you watch the news, sometimes the two meet. As I said before, they can meet. But so first of all, take responsibility for you need to take responsibility for your life here on the level of personal interactions. That's where it starts. And that's where you can do a lot of good and you can do harm too. Do you contribute there to human unconsciousness? Or do you contribute there to the awakening of humanity? Every encounter with another human being, whether it's a person you've known for a long time, family member, spouse, whatever it may be, or whoever it may be, every interaction with true interaction, not talking about social media, every interaction with another human being is important. What is the quality of your consciousness as you interact with actual human beings, not ciphers on the screen? They've expressed an opinion and then you attack this, but actual human beings. What's the quality of your life on that level? What is most likely happening right now, we need to be aware of that. It is true that there is an increase in the collective at the present time of what we might call dysfunction or disorder or even chaos, disruption. We are entering, or we have already entered collectively, a time period of collective disorder or disruption or chaos. There are time periods that they fluctuate. It's always there. It's true that the media actually is part of it. They don't just report it. They amplify the disruption and the chaos, unfortunately. I'm not blaming anybody there. Some people say there's all some evil plan behind it all. Maybe there is, who knows, some conspiracy theories, maybe 1 out of 10 conspiracy theories that actually be true, but we don't even need to go there. The fact is that the mainstream media is part of the disorder that is increasing disorder in this world. And my feeling is there's more to come. So be spiritually prepared. Very important. Be spiritually prepared so that you do not become part of the disorder that's happening, and increasingly, I believe, going to happen even more in this world. We are moving, the world always moves between order and chaos. There are two polarities. You should always strive for order. That's important in your life, in the world, but realize the world, for its evolutionary progress, also needs chaos, periods of chaos and disorder. And out of chaos and disorder, a new order develops. And so there's a gradual evolution of consciousness. When there is disorder, there is a regressive movement, and which means most people become relatively more unconscious. And in the present time, anybody who is not awakening, even to some extent spiritually, will be drawn into deeper unconsciousness because they become part of the collective movement towards disorder or chaos when structures dissolve. And that is a challenge for humans. Now, especially for you, everybody I'm talking to, and many others, of course, it is your challenge to stay conscious while this is happening, so that you do not become contaminated by the collective negativity and unconsciousness. It doesn't mean that you necessarily need to completely withdraw from the world. You can still attempt to the best of your abilities to create a better world. If you have whatever your sphere of influence may be, see if you can bring in more consciousness into whatever you do, whoever you're in contact with. Be a bringer of consciousness. You bring consciousness into an unconscious world without creating some mental conceptual image. I am the bringer of consciousness, then you're lost in ego again. But be prepared for increasing challenges in the collective. Do not be drawn into reactivity, and do not be hypnotized by these events when you watch what's happening in the media and so on. Stay present. What you're watching is an evolutionary story. Humanity is displaying, probably entering a regressive period, as they sometimes happen before there's a further awakening of consciousness. We are perhaps, I'm not for sure, but there's a good chance we're entering a regressive period, which is perfectly fine. It's what you're watching is the evolutionary growth of the human species. And so they are manifesting whatever behavior corresponds to the particular stage in the evolution of humanity. The evolution is towards more consciousness. That's for sure. So if you discover within yourself that a lot of the time you're in a state of lack, of insufficiency, of not enough, and you feel that the answer to the remedy is to be active in this world and achieve and do as much as possible, then you'll probably find that ultimately that is not the answer to your state of lack. In order to transcend, to go beyond your state of lack, of neediness, of not enough, spiritual practice and spiritual realization is necessary. Focus on the realization of being. It's only there that you can go beyond that state of lack, which is ego. Go within and discover who or what you are beyond the person.